Trenton Talks on WIMG 1300 AM and WPHY Verizon Channel 28. I'm your host, Gerald Trueheart, our co-host, Denise Crease from Trenton Public Schools. We have a great broadcast for you this evening around conversations with the Trenton Public Schools Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, Joan Sung, as well as our Supervisor of Bilingual ESL K-6 Dual Language Immersion. That will be Yaimee Herrera. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. They're going to be talking about Yaimee's going to be discussing our Bilingual ESL K-6 Dual Language Immersion program and some details. And Ms. Joan Sung will come back and give us some more updates on our teaching and learning department and the work that is happening around the district in terms of teaching and learning that involves curriculum and instruction in our Trenton Public Schools. So Yaimee, could you share with us some details around the K-6 Dual Language Immersion program?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I just wanted to give a little background of my own experience as a language educator. I've been an educator for 20 years, all in urban school settings, and language and language acquisition has been something that for the past 10 years I've been just passionate about, right? And I am so thankful that we are able to bring this into this district. As Mr. Trueheart said, I am the supervisor for the ESL and bilingual K-6 programming here in Trenton. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to expand our bilingual program because we are able to bring to Trenton a very authentic bilingual additive program, right? So we have an opportunity to show our students the ability to be literally biliterate in both languages, in all 4 domains of language. And this is something that we have tried to do in the past. And although we have a bilingual program in our district, it's not necessarily a additive bilingual program. You know, a lot of times we start with one language, Spanish, and eventually it trickles out to only English. And even though that has been the traditional bilingual program, a dual language immersion program falls under the bilingual education structure, but it is somewhat magical because while the traditional bilingual program is subtractive, meaning that students eventually start learning only English, a dual language immersion program maintains simultaneous instruction of both English and the target language, in this case, Spanish. So it's a beautiful thing if you at our K-1 level, which is where we have decided to pilot and begin the program, it's a wonderful thing to be able to instill that simultaneous instruction into students at such an early age. So our goal with this program is to expand it, where students are truly, truly becoming biliterate, bilingual students, right? So when we say biliterate, bilingual students, we're saying that they have achieved proficiency in all 4 domains of language, not only in the ability to speak it and understand it, but also be able to read it and then write it at a rigorous academic level. So instilling this program at such an early age and bridging it all the way to high school, we're able to empower our students to graduate maybe with the seal of biliteracy, right? And that seal of biliteracy, especially for our students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, is so powerful. The seal of biliteracy allows them to open opportunities for work. It is recognized by universities as a wonderful achievement. So again, having dual language in Trenton and starting at such an early stage is a wonderful thing. I wanted to talk a little bit about what that looks like in our schools. So we've decided to pilot that in 4 of our schools that have a very strong and large bilingual teacher population. What we have decided to do this year is our bilingual teachers are self-contained, meaning that they are teaching both languages simultaneously. So they have what's called an English world 1 week and a Spanish world another week. What is different from a dual language program when compared to a traditional bilingual program is the tenets of dual. Rather, instead of translating constantly and allowing students or not allowing, but not helping students to kind of go into their language repertoire and figure out the word for themselves. In a traditional bilingual program, teachers are just translating, so they're just giving them the words, right? In a dual language program, that is not allowed. So students begin to have what we call productive struggle, where they are now forced to kind of go into their language repertoire, use what they know, and struggle until they're able to articulate their ideas. That is a cultural and mental shift for a lot of teachers, right? But from what we have seen so far, they're doing a beautiful job. So I'm really proud of them because it's a difficult thing to grasp. What's interesting is that there's a lot of frustration at the very beginning of a true dual language program when you are adhering to the tenets of dual by not giving them the word so easily. And a lot of times teachers get frustrated, parents get frustrated, students get frustrated. But if we just kind of step back and look at what's happening, language acquisition is taking place. And that's the beautiful thing of a true dual language program. I get really excited and passionate about this because, I have taught in dual language classes for a very long time. And it was difficult for me to adhere to those rigorous standards at first because it was very different than what I was used to. But when I started seeing the aftermath of really sticking to the program and seeing what students were able to produce, it was amazing. It was mind-blowing. So I'm just super excited about having the opportunity to strengthen this program, educate our teachers and our families in order for us to get true buy-in for this program, because it does take time and it does take dedication from all parties involved in order to be successful in this program.
Thank you, Yaimee. What a great program, and a lot of questions around. I'm sure that parents have had many different questions about the dual immersion program that's being piloted in our K-1 schools. And can you name those schools? I believe it's 4 schools that we're piloting in.
Correct. So at present, we have it in 4 of our elementary: Robbins, Rivera, Hill, and Franklin. And the rationale behind those schools was basically we had the resources available as far as manpower, right? So next year we will have a discussion to see how far we can expand the program. We want to do this slowly in order to make sure that everyone is understanding what is required of a dual language program, because as I said before, it does take buy-in. And it is a little bit of a cultural shift as far as what bilingual education looks like.
So I'm looking on Facebook and we don't have any questions yet, but I found it really interesting when you started to talk about productive struggles to help the student identify and put together that English context. So do the teachers provide like visual cues to assist in that process? Like, what do you want to maybe share like an example of how the student is able to get there?
Absolutely. So one of the things that teachers do often in a bilingual classroom is that they translate. They're constantly translate. They're going back and forth between the language. And as I said before, that does not promote productive struggle. So in a bilingual classroom, there's more of a translanguaging effect going on where teachers themselves are staying in the target language. Let's say this is the Spanish week. So as the teacher, I'm going to speak only Spanish. My students can speak Spanish or English, right? But they're going to ask me questions, they're going to talk to me, and I am not going to break language. What does this look like in a classroom? Let's say that I am a first grade teacher and I am speaking English because this is my English week, and students are telling me stories of their families, right? And they're asking me in Spanish, how do you say grandmother, right? I am not going to reply in that language. Rather, I'm going to use gestures. I'm going to point to pictures. I'm going to use a strategy called total body response, TPR, in order for them to kind of start digging into what they already know from their first language to help bridge them into what words they're trying to, grasp. In a dual language classroom, there is visuals, there are cognate walls, there are word walls that help bridge that connection between the two languages. It's truly a beautiful thing. If you ever have an opportunity to walk into a dual language classroom, please do so. Some other examples that teachers use often when they are struggling or when their students are struggling to articulate their ideas in the target language is the use of peer partner reading, partner speaking. So turn to your partner and discuss. It is very common in dual classrooms to group students based on language abilities. So you'll have students that are a little bit stronger in the target language and use them as peer models. I mean, when you think about it, that's really the way that we learn, right? We learn from our peers. Teachers are there to facilitate the language acquisition, but they're really learning from each other, which is one of the beautiful things of dual language because everyone is at different stages of their language development.
Thank you so much. That's so fantastic.
One of the things I think Denise and Yaimee is important is I know this is happening at these 4 schools. How does that impact other subjects, right? So the kids are in elementary school, and in elementary school, they're all in one class. So they're learning all the subjects from one teacher, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this teacher is not only teaching them English and Spanish, but English and Spanish in multiple disciplines, whether it be math or science or art. So how does that translate into them learning about those specific subjects?
So it's interesting in a dual language classroom or even in a bilingual classroom, teachers are not teaching language in isolation. We're not teaching language explicitly, right? We're teaching language through content objectives. Language teachers, specifically dual language and bilingual teachers, not only have content objectives, but they also have language objectives. So the bridging of the two helps facilitate language acquisition and language learning. So it's not that we as language teachers have a specific time of the day where we are teaching language. We teach it embedded through instruction of all content, science, social studies, reading, writing. So it's not in isolation, it's cohesive.
Ms. Sung, did you want to chime in? I saw that you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I just want to revisit the goals of the dual language. So the goal of the dual language is for our students to be able to use both sides of their brain to be able to develop the academic language so that, oftentimes as, immigrant myself, like when we come to this country and we go into a subtractive program, which basically is phasing out my own native language for the sake of English development. What happens is, even though you might still be fluent in your native language, your vocabulary and your ability to articulate your thoughts in an academic setting stops at the age that you come in. So it is incredibly important for the dual language immersion program, as Ms. Herrera had shared, to be presented to our students through context. So it's never in isolation. It's not a language specific studies. It's really the development of both sides of cognitive brain, which is why the research that we have, that dual language immersion program is really founded by and structured under, supports that by the time from kindergarten until 3rd grade, students often struggle greatly because it's a lot to manage the both languages. And oftentimes as students come into the school, they often become nonverbal at times, not in dual language, but in just general, anybody learning language, because there's a lot that's happening, they're processing. But by the time that they get to 3rd grade, studies show, and through the context of assessments, often by the state assessment, students who have been involved in dual language immersion program that is done right and presented correctly surpasses their peers in any monolingual classes, just because they have learned and mastered to use the brain in a more in-depth manner that is more conducive to them processing information in more depth. So I do want to just kind of highlight that. And again, Ms. Herrera did talk about, the 4 locations that we're piloting. Those are the locations we currently have the highest number of students who have, their native language as non-English, which most likely is Spanish, which is why we've decided on those 4 locations.
Thank you, Joanne. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Joanne, is could you explain why the district decided to go with a pilot program versus, just having it across the district? What's the significance of a pilot program versus having it district-wide?
So I'm a big fan of pilot programs because it allows us to do a comparative study in regards to the program that we project and anticipate to bring into the district. We can always project and plan for success, but we can't guarantee it unless we see it in action. But without having a pure set of data that helps us to understand that this is the pros and this is the con of the program that we're projecting, compared to what is currently taking place, how much our students are benefiting, and what is the data that we're collecting, we're not able to make that decision to say, okay, we're going to go 180 in the new year and we're going to switch out everything that we ever knew about bilingual education and bring something new. One of the major reasons, which I explained, is about data, but it's also about teacher learning. Teachers have been trained in this one way of doing things in bilingual education for so long. It takes time, just like students, for any of us to learn something new, to pivot from what we know to be the norm to a different way. So we decided to pilot in small pockets to be able to highlight and collect data on the successes comparative to the non-piloted schools and how students are performing academically as well as social and emotionally, and really project to expand that program little by little. I don't know if Ms. Herrera had explained, but typically in a dual immersion program in this manner, the piloted program, we increase 1 year at a time. So next year with KM1 starting, we're projecting for second graders to be onboarded because those first graders who are currently in the program will move on, and the new set of kindergartners will come in. So kindergartners will move on to first grade to second grade. The other piece is we'll also look at the bilingual centers, meaning the schools that have additional bilingual needs other than the 4 that has been mentioned, and we'll select the students who are in the higher priority and slowly train those teachers and build capacity. And that will continue to kind of expand as we go into the future.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say in terms of the schools, right, specifically about the schools that we're in now and how we expand that into next year, we stay within that K1 4 schools and then expand because those other kids will grow into second and third grade, but then also expand the program to other schools that have similar needs, because the pilot has been launched in the first year. Now it's the second year.
Correct.
And based on the data that we've collected and the analysis that has been done,
right?
I guess we're looking to the fact that this program is going to work for the district.
Yeah, and I will say that in my previous experience, while I cannot guarantee for Trenton Public Schools, because every school has their own kind of culture and climate that make up the school community, but dual language program also not only just helps with student academic performance, but it also has improved attendance as well. When there is a sense of belonging and there is a sense of purpose that is collectively felt, students tend to want to be in the schools. Coming from districts that have also been walking districts, it's difficult to have kindergartners come in. They tend to not come in or show absences more and more when it's raining or snowing. But in my previous experience, I have found, and we've found, that data shows that there is a slight increase in attendance with dual language as well.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And, Yaimee, one of the things I wanted to ask you is the impact on the parents, right? And the connection with the parents and the students and how that's working out, connecting with the parents, explaining to the parents about the dual immersion and dual language immersion program, this pilot program in those 4 schools. How are the parents connecting and relating to the students as well as to the school? And are they excited about the opportunities that's being presented to our students, to their children?
Yes, we actually had a parent informational meeting last month to invite parents from these 4 schools to learn more about the program. We had an amazing turnout at Ellis Auditorium. They came in and they were truly interested in what the program was. We went over, the 3 pillars of dual language and what that meant for their students. Not only was it promoting bilingualism, it was improving cognitive enhancement, and more so, just a cultural identity. When parents truly feel that their students are going to learn English, at the same time maintaining their home language, it is something that to them is almost unobtainable at times, because there's a lot of stigma behind learning your home language and learning English at the same time, right? So this is one of the things that Ms. Sung was talking about. It's important for us to educate all key stakeholders on how research after research after research shows that, when you are learning a second language, it just your brain density and cognitive skills just increase. Things like working memory, attention, problem solving skills. These are things that happen to the brain when you are learning a second language. So these are some of the things that I shared with parents, that it's not just the ability to maintain your home language, which is a beautiful cultural thing, but you are opening up so many doors for students, for their children, by kind of giving them this ability, right? So they are very excited. It is something that we have to continuously as a district promote to parents, to teachers, because it is a little bit different, right? But I am confident that through this initial stage and through working with teachers and training, that we're going to get there. For example, today we had our first dual language training for teachers through one of our consultants. And that's the first step, right? Teacher buy-in, teacher education. And they were excited. They were excited to see what the dual language program looks like in their classroom and in the realities of the challenges that they could have. So we had a wonderful turnout today for our professional development for our teachers. So that's the second layer of buy-in. So parents are excited, teachers are excited, and that's really the first step.
And I will say that Ms. Herrera is very, very humble in her explanation, but thanks to her passion that she brings and also the promotion of the information, we had close to 90 parents who showed up to the information session, which I think is huge success. Ms. Herrera presented in Spanish and was able to answer questions, which I think is another plus. Additionally speaking, just the fact that teachers are getting the information in real time and understanding, and also hearing from Ms. Herrera, who served in the same capacity as a dual language teacher, has been just very, very powerful. So we're very, very thankful for Ms. Herrera's hard work and passion that she brings to the district.
That's great. I want to congratulate you guys, 90 parents coming out, and that shows the importance that our parents have in education of our children. And I want to welcome Hope Grant, our Assistant Superintendent Secondary, to our broadcast. Hi, Hope, how are you?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Thank you. Denise Crease, what's up?
I'm doing well. So I will share my announcement and turn it over back to Ms. Grant to see if she has any announcements that she wants to share with the community. So as I mentioned during the last broadcast, my name is Ms. Crease. I am Trenton Public Schools Homeless Liaison and Parent Coordinator. And we have launched a Parent Connection series, which is an educational training offering that we're providing to our parents in order to continue to bridge that gap between home and school. Some of our conversations are centered around mental health and wellness, supporting school success, school attendance and why it matters, talking about stress management, and the topics will just continue to evolve. We're meeting weekly in the evenings, on Tuesdays, at the Board of Education building at 108 North Clinton Avenue. That is our central office building. So once again, for any parent that is interested in attending, please come. We provide dinner and childcare services. So once again, 108 North Clinton Avenue is the address, every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Board of Education building. We look forward to many more sessions, and we've invited some key partners, and we're just excited to continue to share that information. Ms. Grant, did you have any updates you wanted to share before we close out?
I don't. I just want to thank Ms. Sung and Ms. Herrera for joining us today, and thank you for providing our families with such great information. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining Trenton Talks tonight. And we had a great conversation with Joanne Sung, our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, Yaimee Herrera, our Supervisor of Bilingual ESL programs, and regarding to our dual language immersion program. Thanks so much, Assistant Superintendent Hope Grant. Hope Grant helps to coordinate all of these programs that for our broadcast each and every single week. So I want to thank Hope Grant for her tireless effort to get this done. It's a lot of work behind the scenes. We just show up on camera, but the work behind the scenes is a lot of work to get folks lined up and available to broadcast, to share great news with us. Just a couple announcements from me. Don't forget about homecoming, right? Hope homecoming coming up this week. October the 8th, Spirit Week, all week this week at Trenton Central High School. Each day is a different theme. I think today was Pajama Day. So the kids are having a great time at the high school and around the district preparing for our homecoming on October the 8th. SATs, October 13th. PSATs for our 10th, 11th graders, and SATs for our 12th graders. And of course, we have our board meeting scheduled for October 17th. So come out and join us beginning at 5:30. At our board meeting at our Central Services building on Clinton Avenue. I want to thank Denise Crease, our co-host for Trenton Public Schools, parent liaison, coordinator, and homeless liaison. Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing your expertise around broadcasting and sharing it to Facebook as our internal person at Trenton Public Schools that does a lot of technical behind the scenes stuff. I thank you so much as well. So you've been listening to Trenton Talks on WIMG 1300 AM, WPHW Verizon Channel 28. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you next week. I'm your host, Gerald Trueheart. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you.